Hi, welcome. My name's Kenny Russell, Bulldozer Faith, living life in the Spirit. Today what I want to do is introduce a two-part message that Michael Rood shared with us here at Kehilat Galilee. We're on a home fellowship here in the Galilee, and he is going to take the time expanding on the book, the chronological Gospels that he has written, and this book will be released to the public this year. And it's powerful. As we were sharing and fellowshipping after Michael did his tour in Israel, there's been so many rich nuggets and times of fellowship that we've been able to share with all those that are following us on bulldozerfaith.com and on our YouTube channel. But as we were talking the other day, we were really getting into the elements of dealing with the false doctrines of what is explained from the book of Revelation. It says here in chapter 1, verse 3, "Blessed is he who accurately knows, and those who hear and obey the words of this prophecy, and those who guard the things that are written herein. At the time of their fulfillment is close at hand." This message of the book of Revelation is more important to this generation than any other generation that has lived. And what Michael and I discussed was about doing an overview in one evening on understanding the outline of the book of Revelation in preparation for more in-depth study in the future. And I want to tell you, we had a house full of people from different parts of the world, people from Israel, America, from different countries within Europe. And what a blessing it was. We videoed it so that we can also share this blessing with you. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready. It's a two-part. Please share it with others. And if you haven't joined our email list, go on bulldozerfaith.com and sign up so you get our weekly blog emails from the Galilee. Again, what are we trying to do today? We're trying to break down false teaching. We're trying to expose the importance of understanding the Word from a Hebrew mindset, getting hold of the cultures of the land and the context in which Yohanan wrote the book of Revelation. So like I said, fasten your seatbelts, get ready for this great teaching today.
Well, thank you. It's good to have this opportunity to share some of these things with you. And yesterday at the beginning of Shabbat was here with Kenny and Haley and Hannah and sitting around the table, and we began talking about what we were going to do tonight. And I told them, these were the things that were on my mind over the last couple of days. And so I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to go through the book of the Revelation, the fifth gospel. And sometimes people are shocked when I said there are five gospels. But, they're used to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as being the gospels. But Matthew, Mark, Luke, John detail the Messiah as he fulfills the spring feast of the Lord. And that statement in itself is like, it's completely outside of the box of what's taught in churchianity today, because no one knows anything about the feast of the Lord. Shaul said the feasts of the Lord are all prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come. But yet, if we've been raised in complete ignorance of the feasts of the Lord, which the Almighty told us to keep these feasts forever, and I don't think any of us really need a dictionary to know what the word forever means, but yet they've been stripped away from us, and in place of the feast of the Lord, we have been given basically Babylonian pagan sun god worship festivals of Christmas or Child Mass and Easter, which is, actually the name of Nimrod's reincarnated wife, the bare-breasted goddess of fertility. And we have been raised in complete ignorance of the feast of the Lord, so we wouldn't even recognize a prophetic shadow picture if it leaped out from the pages and bit us. And so to say that the first four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, is the detail of the Messiah fulfilling the spring feast of the Lord. It is only when we understand the spring feast do we see the 3D, high-definition ministry of Yeshua come alive, because basically all we've been taught is the caricatures, the one-dimensional caricatures, and people have been talking about Jesus and telling Jesus stories and sweet baby Jesus in the manger stories, and who's teaching what he taught? His disciples went about here in the Galilee. This was over a half year before his death, burial, and resurrection. His disciples were teaching the gospel of the kingdom. They were doing signs, miracles, and wonders. They were raising the dead. They were healing lepers. They were casting out demons, and they knew nothing about the death, burial, and resurrection. They were preaching the gospel of the kingdom. But what is this gospel of the kingdom? We don't know anything about this gospel of the kingdom and churchianity because we're just taught, one or two verse Jesus stories instead of teaching what the gospel of the kingdom is all about. And if we understand the gospel of the kingdom, then it's going to open up a whole new world to us, because Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John detail how the Messiah fulfilled the spring feast of the Lord, but the book of the Revelation is the fifth gospel. Gospel means good news. And the fifth gospel, the book of Revelation, is the good news of the conquering, reigning king, the righteous judge who rules over the earth. I mean, if that's not good news, then you're in the wrong group, okay? But this is the fifth gospel. And why we have 5 gospels is because of something very, very important. You see it in the English versions of the Bible as a transliteration of Tzemach, B-R-A-N-C-H. The word Tzemach appears 5 times by the voice of the Hebrew prophets. 5 times and only 5 times. Every time it is translated into English with capitals. Most of the time is all capitals. Why? Because not only the rabbinic scholars, but also the Christian scholars all recognize every time the word Tzemach is used, it is referring to the Messiah. There is no question about it among the rabbis. It's always, every time, referring to the Messiah. And every time there's a different facet, if you please, of the Messiah's life and ministry. And one, it is the Tzemach, the branch who is the king. Another, he is the branch who is the servant. Another, he is the branch who is the Son of Man. And another, he is the branch who is the Son of God. And another, he is the branch, the Tzemach, who is the righteous judge. 5 pictures of the Messiah, and it's all the same Messiah. There's no question about it. It's just different facets of his life and ministry. And that's why we have 5 Gospels. You can read all about this and see the detail in the chronological Gospels, the life in 70-week ministry of the Messiah. It's right in the introduction where I lay all this out, because it's important to understand that the Gospels are divinely inspired. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the Scripture came by the will of man, but holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. And Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and then again John for the book of Revelation are giving this 5-faceted life and ministry of Yeshua. And through the last 40 years of attempting to put together the chronological Gospels, and now finally to have it in publication, I have grown to see, no matter how deep I look into it, I started to solve the apparent contradictions that are resident within the English text of the Bible. In order to do that, you've got to go back into the apparent contradictions in the Greek. You've got to go past that, and sometimes we have to go back into, like the ancient Hebrew Matthew, to solve some of these problems. But I found that the deeper I looked into it, and the more I scrutinized the Gospels and the book of Revelation, the more apparent their divine authenticity came to be. And so in Matthew, we see the Messiah as the king. It's the king from heaven, laying down the rules of the kingdom of heaven for those who desire to enter the kingdom of heaven. He said he said that the gate that leads to life is extremely narrow, and very, very, very few people will find it. And this is his very first message to Israel. And he said that those who purport to be his followers would stand before him one day and say, "Didn't I prophesy in your name? Didn't I cast out demons in your name, do wonderful works?" And he's going to say, "Get out of my face. I don't know you. I do not know you. You don't know me, you worker of anomia." Anomia, A without, this is Greek, Nomia or nomos is Torah. That is the Greek translation of the word Torah is nomia or nomos. You are without Torah. He says, not those who call me Lord enter the kingdom. How is it that you call me Lord, but you don't do what I say to do, he said. Well, see, if we are really his and he is in us, then we will do. His Spirit will lead us to be obedient to the Torah. Even if we don't know it, if we've never been taught it, the Spirit will lead us to that revelation and we will fulfill that. And especially if we've got it in our hands, what a treasure. I mean, the people who died to get a copy in our language, this is unbelievable, and we will not, in this generation, squander the lives of those who've gone before us, who have given their lives to get a copy in our language. So when we've got it in our hands, then we understand Yeshua said, depart from me, you who are without Torah. You have excluded the Torah. And so these words by Yeshua cannot be taken lightly. He's the king. He lays down the kingdom. And if you want to enter into his kingdom, you bow the knee now because the kingdom is among us now. It's not in the sweet by and by. You either bow the knee and adhere and listen to, as Moses said, recorded in Deuteronomy, that the Almighty would send another prophet in the future. And that prophet would hear directly from heaven, just as Moses did. And we must shema that prophet. We must hear and obey. And we will be judged according to our compliance to the words of that prophet. Now, I believe that prophet is Yeshua. There's nobody else that's ever come close to this. The Lubavitchers want to say that Rabbi Schneerson is the Messiah. Others are saying that the modern Rabbi Ginsburg may be the Messiah. Take a look at what they did. None of them put the plumb line down like Yeshua did. Here is one who came in and said, as Matthew 23, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, therefore do what he says to do. Moses says to do, but do not follow the takanot and maasim of the Pharisees, for they say they follow Moses, but they don't do what Moses says to do. That's what the ancient Hebrew text reads. The modern English says, scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, whatever they say you must do. Oh my goodness. If that's what he said, we are all in deep, deep trouble. There's no way out of that one, because that's thousands of commandments that you don't even want to know about. But that's not what he said. In ancient Hebrew Matthew, he says, do what Moses says to do. But where is Yeshua's message being taught today? Do what Moses says to do. A man comes to him, what must I do to inherit eternal life? He said, what? Ask me to come into your heart. Right now, just ask me to come into your heart. Wait, Jesus said, I'm going to sing just one stanza of Just As I Am, and then I'm going to have you come forward and ask me to come into your heart. Just as I am. Okay, come on. No, he said, what did he say? He said, keep the commandments. Keep the commandments. So, Yeshua said, this gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all the world. What gospel of the kingdom is he talking about? This one, the one he's been preaching, the one his disciples have been preaching. But this is what's not being preached today. So, in Matthew is one of the tzemach, it is the king, laying down the rules of the kingdom. In Mark, he is the servant. In the language, it has none of his history, has none of his background, has none of his lineage. None of that makes any difference to a servant. A servant's just a servant. A servant, in the verbiage, is immediately and forthwith and straightway and immediately and straightway. And just no moss is growing under this rolling rock. And then, in Luke, we see the terminology, the third, which is the Son of Man. And that's where all the terminology for the Son of Man resides in the Gospel of Luke. The Son of Man this, the Son of Man that. As the Son of Man, as he lives the Torah, and showing us how he lives the Torah. See, his death may have been was our substitute, but his life was our example. And so now the Son of Man is actually living this out. And then the fourth gospel, which is John, these things I've already written. Yeah. I've not written everything that could be written. If everything were written that should be written, and could be written, the world wouldn't be able to contain the scrolls. But these things I have written, that you might know that Yeshua of Nazareth is the Messiah, the only begotten Son of God, and that believing you might have life through his name. The whole thing is about the Son of God, as he goes up to and fulfills the spring feast of the Lord, and he goes up to and prophesies the future fulfillment of the fall feast of the Lord. And most people don't even realize that this is how the Gospel of John is set up. John chapter 2 and 3 is at Passover. John chapter 4, two miracles that take place. The woman at the well and healing the young man at Cana. And he heals this young man who is sick in Capernaum. And his father comes and said, my son's going to die if you don't come and pray. He said, go your way. He's healed. Two miracles he does in chapter 4. Chapter 5, he's back up to the Feast of Shavuot. Then chapter 6, it is Yom Teruah, the Day of Trumpets, and he is teaching in the Capernaum synagogue about the Day of Trumpets, the last day and the resurrection. And then John chapter 7, it is the Feast of Tabernacles. John chapter 8, it's the last great day of the Feast of Tabernacles, when he prophesies about the latter rain outpouring. Whosoever comes unto me, who thirsts, come unto me, and out of his belly will flow rivers of living water. He's speaking of the latter day fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles, and specifically the last great day of the water libation. Then we go into John chapter 8, verse 12 through 10:56, and he's up at Hanukkah, where he says, the feast that became known as the Feast of Lights, he said, I am the light of this world. As long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. He opens the eyes of the blind, and the 8th through the 10th chapter, that's what it's all about. It's at Hanukkah. Then chapter 11, he, at the time of Purim, goes back up and raises Lazarus from the dead. Now John chapter 12, he's back at Passover and takes it right to the end. That's the Gospel of John in a nutshell. It's all right there. So simple, but yet we've never been taught this stuff because we've had idiots, Gentiles, trying to teach us scriptures that Jews wrote. And they're clueless. If you don't understand the feast of the Lord, you can't possibly understand the simplest things in the gospel. But you see how the whole thing is it's just beautiful how the whole thing lays out. And something that cannot be swept under the carpet is that for the first 300 years, every apostle, every disciple of the apostles, every disciple of the disciple of the apostles, for 300 years, all said Yeshua's ministry was about 1 year. Not one dissenting opinion for 300 years until Eusebius, the bishop of Caesarea, who said he saw the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew, but he couldn't read it. He who, after writing the oration in exaltation of the Emperor Constantine, which, if anybody knows me, I'm not a fan of Constantine, that pagan sun god worshiping pervert who mixed all this pagan sun god worship in, and he was a worshiper of Mithra from till the day of his death. And you look up in the Encyclopedia Britannica Junior, what is the date of the birth of Mithra, the Roman sun god? December 25th. It doesn't take Einstein to figure this stuff out. And yet, Eusebius, 300 years of testimony, then says Jesus' ministry was 3.5 years. Out of the clear blue sky, he came up with this. Well, he came up with it as a false interpretation of the 9th chapter of Daniel. He said his ministry was 3.5 years, which is 1/2 of a week. Immediately, you know exactly where he got that. He was trying to interpret the 9th chapter of Daniel, which has been, everyone on the planet who's been reading the Bible has been attempting to interpret it. Sir Robert Anderson, Sir Isaac Newton gave his hand at it. But there were things that could not be known and were sealed up until the last days, and I believe that we have hit that day, because now we can know things that we have been hidden for literally thousands of years. And so, it was Eusebius that first came up with a 3.5 year ministry, and the early text of the Gospel of John, none of them had any of the words of John 6:4, where at the feeding of the 5,000, it says, in Passover, the feast of the Jews was nigh. The early text didn't have it in there. It was added into the later text in order to artificially lengthen Yeshua's ministry. Matthew, Mark, and Luke all said the feeding of the 5,000. First of all 4 Gospels record just one miracle. All 4 Gospels record the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. That gives us a moment in time that you can synchronize every Gospel account. Now you can go both ways on it. Matthew, Mark, and Luke, very clearly, it's at the end of the summer. The disciples sent out 2 by 2, 6 teams of 2, and at the end of the 6th month, they all come back to the Galilee. And John, Yohanan ben Zechariah, HaKohen, his disciples come to Yeshua at that time and say John has been beheaded. It is at that time that he's there with 5,000 people, men, plus women and children, and Yeshua feeds 5,000 people at the end of the summer. In the very same chapter, in Matthew, he's going up to the Feast of Tabernacles. In the very next chapter, in Mark and Luke, he's going up to the Feast of Tabernacles. But in John, it says, the feeding of the 5,000, there are these words that are added into the later Greek text. And Passover, a feast of the Jews was nigh. And those 10 words in Greek are not in any of the early texts. What's the very next chapter in John? John chapter 7, he's going up to the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, the end of the summer, feeding 5,000, wait, all of a sudden, no, it's Passover, a feast of the Jews is nigh. That means there's 1/2 year of absolute dead air that all 4 gospel authors immediately stop reporting anything. And we go around half of the year to a Passover that Yeshua never goes to. He feeds 5,000 people with leavened barley loaves. And a few days later feeds 4,000 more with leavened barley loaves. Why are these people all not at Jerusalem for the feast of Passover? Why are they eating leavened barley loaves? Why is the Capharnaum synagogue filled with people if it's Passover, when everyone's supposed to be at Jerusalem? See, they added those words in the one place they would be caught red-handed by anyone that knew the Torah and was obedient to the Torah and kept the Feast of Passover, because we know there's to be no leavened bread in the whole land. Every male, 13 years and up, is supposed to be up at Jerusalem. And even the Pharisees come from Jerusalem to confront Yeshua on why his disciples, numbering in the thousands, are not taking a 2-handled neger vessel and washing their hands and saying this prayer that is ridiculous. Blessed are you, O Lord God, King of the universe, who sanctifies by your commands, commanding us concerning the washing of hands. Never find anywhere where we're commanded to wash our hands. But even the Pharisees will admit, the rabbis admit, well, no, it's really not in the Torah. We made it up. This is what we call takanot. This is a law enacted by the Pharisees, which changes or negates biblical law. Wait just a minute. Moses says no one adds and no one subtracts, and you said you added this? You know, that immediately tells me something's wrong with your religious system. When you start adding your own commandments and taking your own commandments away and then commanding us to wash our hands, Yeshua said, nobody's going to wash their hands around here. No one is following the Pharisees. They're following Yeshua, who's putting a plumb line down. This is what Moses says to do. Nobody adds or subtracts from it. You've added and you've subtracted from it. You are a false prophet. You're a false religion. And it's not just because Phariseeism is. Basically, the whole Christian world has made up their own version of life and reality. So, Yeshua had about 1 year ministry. It's all right there. All you have to do is remove that scripture, that it's not in the most ancient text, and everything fits. And that we get back to 300 years of testimony instead of one person who never gives one shred of evidence for a 3.5 year ministry. In fact, it's impossible. No one has ever been able to get a 3.5 year ministry out of the gospel accounts. And Eusebius, one guy did it in the 4th century. Oh yeah, like I'm going to believe that. I mean, I'd have to be an idiot to follow that. Now, on that alone, you look for evidence, you look for textual evidence, and if it's not there, you just don't let somebody make something up. Somebody tried it in the congregation over last week, and I kind of came unglued afterwards. Zipporah was there. I mean, you just don't take the scripture and twist it in the presence of the saints and think you're going to get away with it. So I may be persona non grata over there now on, but, you don't let people get away with tearing the scripture apart. That is blasphemy. It's an insult against the Almighty. Well, where are we? We've got now the fifth gospel, the fifth Samach, which is the righteous judge. And that is the book of the Revelation. The book of the Revelation really is one of the simplest things. It took me 40 years to put together the chronology of the Gospels, but to outline and do the whole book of Revelation took me less than 2 weeks up in the north woods of Minnesota one winter. It's it really is one of my favorite books, and it is really simple because it's really given to us in order. So would you like to get into the book of Revelation? Just do an overview tonight on that. Okay. Well, first of all, any questions on what we've, that was just my 3-minute introduction. It's really 3 minutes? Is that what you said? Yeah. Okay. So, I'm glad everyone in the world agrees with me right now. So, we can start out with, okay. Let's just try to do this from memory. All right? This is not, as I say, the revelation of St. John the Divine. It probably says that as a subtitle at the opening of the book of Revelation in your Bibles there. We got to remember that all of these things were added by men. This is not the book of the Revelations. It is the book of the revelation of Yeshua Messiah. It says, this is the revelation of Yeshua Messiah, which he gave unto his servant John to declare unto his saints the things which must swiftly come to pass. And he sent it and signified it by his messenger, John. There's the word angel there in some of your text, right? Well, read the verse for me. Of that where it says the angel. Okay, just that verse.
The whole verse. Number 1, the revelation of Yeshua the Messiah, which Elohim gave unto him to show unto his servants things which were shortly come to pass, and he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
Okay, the word angel is agelos. Agelos. And it is used for a human messenger or a divine messenger. Either one, and only the context can tell you. And so immediately you get this picture in your mind that he gave it to an angel to give it to John. But that's not it. His angel or his messenger is John. Okay? It is his agelos, John. John is the messenger. Now, John is going to deliver this to the messengers to these 7 different Kehilat, or churches, as it says in the King James Version. So I'm going to go from King James in my brain, and whatever version you happen to have out there. What is that? Oh, the word of Yahweh. Okay, all right, good. So immediately, anytime you can check it through. And that's why I love the King James, because you can take that word, agelos, you can look it up, because most of the research materials in English are done from the King James perspective, and you go back and look up agelos. Every time it's used, most of the time it's referring to a man, a human messenger. And that is the case here. There's no angel flying around, no little chubby little cherubs in Germany. What is it? The Christ. What's it? At Christmas time, you got the little. What is it? The Christ. No. Well, what's it called? This little Christ something that. Christkind, that's right, Christkind. The Christkind in Germany has got Santa beat all over the place. The Christkind, who delivers presents to children on December 25th, can fly through walls. He can go through glass. He needs no chimney. I mean, this thing is like, I don't know how the Germans get the Christkind, and we have to do with this fat man in a cherry red suit with reindeer. Man, give me the Christkind any day. So,
Is that where they get Rice Krispies from?
the Christkind, which, right, it's like the Christ child, right? I mean, that's what it is, the Christ child. I mean, this guy is good. Anyway, where are we? Okay, so it's not one of these little Christkinds flying around delivering this stuff. It's John. And this was given to his Yeshua. God gave it to Yeshua. The Father gave it to the Son so that he could show his servants the things which must swiftly come to pass. It's not the word shortly as in there's a short duration, but it is when these things begin to go down, they will go down with rapidity, with swiftness, okay? That's what that word means. So don't think, any minute it's going to happen, because certain things have to transpire before the conquering, reigning king comes and fulfills these things. So, now we have John who is given this revelation. He sees this revelation, this is John Revelation 1, and he sees this vision of Yeshua, who is like, his garments are white as snow. His face is glowing. His eyes are red and piercing. He is, the words that go out of his mouth are like a sword that cuts right straight through the heart. And when John sees him and hears his voice, he falls down like a dead man at Yeshua's feet. And Yeshua then puts his hand on him and say, get up. I want you to write the things which are now. Write the things which you have seen, the things which are now, and the things which shall be hereafter. And this is basically the format of the whole book of Revelation. What he has just seen, which is Yeshua in his resurrected body, with the white hair, with the glowing eyes, with a great suntan, with a voice that sounds like many waters. Write what you have seen, and the things which are now, and the things which shall be hereafter. And so with that formula, he says, now write to the messengers of these seven, doesn't say churches. The word church does not appear in the New Testament, except as a mistranslation. The word church is from kirke, which is circus. Ecclesia is the word. And ecclesia is the Greek word that is used for Kehilah in the Torah and the prophets. The first time that the word ecclesia is used is in the Septuagint, when Israel is gathered to the base of the mountain and the Almighty is shouting down his commandments. He shouted his commandments down to the ecclesia, the Kehilah, the called out. So I was young when I prayed, Lord, teach me what the doctrine of the Nicolaitans is. I want to know. And little did I know that I would be led on a path by the Spirit to get into one of the biggest Nicolaitan cults in the world. And to see the ramifications of that. What the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, Nico in Greek, is conqueror, Nike. Laity, Laitans, is people, conquering of the people. And when you see the manipulation, the intimidation, the control that is exercised by those who, as Yeshua said, when James and John's mother came to him and said, bowed down to him and worshipped him, and Yeshua said, it's really, really neat in the Greek because it says, woman, what do you want? It's like, okay, this is a con job going on here. He saw it coming. Oh, Lord, grant that my two sons here, James and John, get to sit on your right hand and left hand when you enter the kingdom. He said, woman, you have no idea what you're asking. James, John, get in here. Are you able to be baptized with the baptism I'm going to be baptized with? Are you able to drink of the cup that I'm going to drink of? And they said, yes, Lord, we're able. He said, okay, boys, you're on. But to sit on my right hand and left hand, you can forget it right now. And it says the rest of the disciples were moved with envy, because that's the only thing that can be produced by this. Once you take up the right and left hand of Yeshua, what do you have left? The right and the left hand of James, right and left hand of John. Then when that position is taken up, now you got the bishops, you got the college of cardinals, now you got the priests, finally you get down to the laity, the people on the bottom down here. And everybody knows what rolls downhill. And this is the world religion. And Yeshua says the Gentiles exercise dominion, lordship, and authority over each other. They're the ones who build this Nicolaitan hierarchy that somebody sits at the top and everything else rolls downhill. And you have to go through your head and all that kind of nonsense. He says, no, you want to do it like that? Pack your bags, Peter, and head to Rome. Well, he didn't actually say that. But he said, no, this is not the way we're going to do it. He says, like, I'm the Messiah. I didn't come into this world to be served. I came to serve. You're going to do it like me. You get underneath everybody else and you raise them up. That's how it's done in my kingdom. None of this person being served at the top. No, you get underneath and you help. See, the doctrine of the Nicolaitans is just the other way. It's the intimidation, manipulation, and control, because the people down here can't hear from heaven. They have to obey the people above them, who obey the people above them, who go all the way to the top. So, the doctrine of the Nicolaitans is a big deal in the book of the Revelation, and it's creeping into the body of believers even at that time. We're dealing with Jezebel spirits. We're dealing with all sorts of stuff Oh, thank you. Wonderful. I needed a place to put my glass. Thank you. And so now we have right here, we'll start out with, right over here. We've got one. This is it. One. The things you have seen. You have seen. Which is Yeshua in his glorified body. Number two, things which are, which means now. And then, number three, the things hereafter. And so now what we have right here are 7 letters to the 7 Kehilah. And so we get to chapter 4, and what we have happen at chapter 4 is that now John is taken to the throne room. A voice calling to him sounds like a trumpet, saying, come up here, and I will show you the things which must be hereafter. Am I right? Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. Am I at the right place? Okay? All right. Everyone says I'm at the right place. All right. Now, John is taken to the throne room of heaven, and he sees, after all this majesty, all this glory that is almost has him, weak-kneed in the throne room watching this scene where he sees 24 elders around the throne, and then he sees an angel, he sees in the right hand of him who sits on the throne a scroll written, and on the backside sealed with 7 seals. And then the angel cries out, no man in heaven and earth is able to loose the seals and to open the scroll. And John immediately breaks down weeping uncontrollably. You have to ask yourself, what is this scroll? Why does it cause this man who's been taken to the throne room and to see this and to see that in the hand of the Almighty is a scroll that no one has authority to strip these 7 seals from? And he just breaks down uncontrollably, just weeping. And it's like heaven shuts down. It's like, oh my God, no, no, no! And then an angel cries out, behold, the Lamb, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, has prevailed, and he alone is worthy to take the scroll and strip the seals. See, this scroll is the title deed to this world. Adam was given the kingship, the lordship of this earth. And by his act of treason, he gave it over to Hasatan. And that's why Shaul says that calls Hasatan the god of this age, because he now has authority over this world. When Yeshua was tempted by Hasatan, in a moment of time, he was shown all the kingdoms, all the glory, all the wealth of this world, and Hasatan said to him, "Bow down to me, and it's all yours. For it has been delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will, I give it." Yeshua never challenged his jurisdiction. He didn't say, "No, it wasn't given to you." He just said, "I will not do it. It is written. It is written. It is written." See, once it was delivered legally into the hands of Hasatan, nobody could redeem it back. There was no way out. And then the angel cries out, "The Lion of the tribe of Judah has prevailed." And Yeshua comes and takes the scroll, and he begins ripping these seals. How many seals are there? 7 seals. So here is the things, here are the 7 seals. Now I have to go back to the things which you have seen. In his letter to the 7 letters to the 7 Kehilat, every one of them starts out by, "This is what the one who has the 7 stars in his right hand says. This is the word from the one who has the keys of death in the grave." This is one. Every time he refers back to something he saw with Yeshua. You know, the one who walks among the lampstands. You know, when he says that, the one who walks among the lampstands, nothing is hidden. He sees everything that's going on. You're not going to pull the wool over his eyes. He knows what's happening because he is alive. He is real, and you better deal with him as if he is alive and real, and you can't pretend that he's not alive and real and that he doesn't see what's going on. He sees everything that's going on. You can't fool him, and so then in the letters, it nails every one of these, and then there is a future promise in each one of these letters to those that overcome. This is what they will get. And when you see in the book of Revelation, when it is they receive it, it's in the new heaven and the new earth all the way over here, where there is no more death, there are no more tears, there's no more crying. He will eat of the tree of life that's planted in the garden. When is that tree of life in the garden? The new heaven and the new earth. It's not before them. See, in the book of Genesis, we have paradise. We have the garden. The word garden in Genesis chapter 2, into the Greek, every time it's translated paradosos or paradosion, paradise. We were ejected from paradise back in the garden, and paradise is restored here in the new heaven and new earth. And so it's a promise of what is in the future. If you stand strong, if you overcome, then you will have that benefit. So again, that's the 7 letters to the 7 Kehilat. And each one of them goes back to what he has seen and the things which are now happening right now. Now the things which shall be hereafter. Now we have the scene in the throne room with the 7 seals. Now what you have are the 7 seals. And as the seals are stripped off from this scroll, every time you see all hell break loose on the earth. Because Satan's authority over this earth is being stripped. And when it's all done, Yeshua is going to then take this earth and he's going to reign. He has the authority to legally buy back all mankind. So now we have these 7 seals. And so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at the 6th seal, that is when there is silence in heaven for about, a half hour? Half hour of silence. Now, some people have projected that this is proof that the rapture hasn't happened yet, because you'd never have a half hour silence if there were women in heaven. Now, I think that's terrible. I don't think that's a good translation. But it's funny. No. It's well-known fact that women have 5 times as many words as men do in a day.
If you use the restrooms, it gives you all the answers.
Okay. So, we have 6 seals, and then we have the 7th seal and the 7th seal. At the 7th seal, there are 7 trumpets that are introduced. Now, if you look at this, now the people have tried to stack the seals on top of thunders and try to stack all these things up. That's not how this is written at all. You have 7 seals. Each seal that's ripped off, you have the events that play out. The next one. When the 7th seal is ripped off, 7 angels with trumpets are introduced. And now, with each one of these trumpets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we will stop right there, at number 6. The 3rd trumpet looks something like the 2nd seal, but it's not. It looks like it. It's similar to it, but it can't be the same thing. Let's say that we have 7 cups right here down on the table. And down on the table, we take off the first one, second one, and under the third one, we have a zucchini. Okay? Here's a zucchini. Under this one here. We go all the way down. Here's the 7th one. We lift it up, and then we've got 7 other cups that are under that. Now we take off the 4th one. There's another zucchini under there. That's a little different color. But is that zucchini the same as that zucchini? No. It's impossible. They can look similar, but they can't be the same because of the order of events in which these things are transpiring. So we get to the 6th trumpet, and at the 6th trumpet, this is when we have right there at the 6th trumpet, we have an intervention here. I'm going to put 6th trumpet. And right here we have 7, what? Help me. What happens? No, not yet. It's 7 thunders. Yeah. The 7 thunders. Now, and so, here is the scene. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trumpets. How many trumpets altogether? 7. At the 6th trumpet, then 7 thunders are introduced. Now, what are these thunders? You have to ask. And this is what everyone wants to know. What are these 7 thunders? Well, it says when these 7 thunders, an angel with 1 foot on the land, 1 foot on the sea, the scroll is rolled out, and he begins to read out. And when he speaks, it is like a lion roaring. It sounds like thunder coming out. And John begins to do what he was told, which is write. He starts to write, and the voice comes out of heaven, stop! Don't do it. Now, remember, Yeshua was given this revelation for him to show unto his servants the things which must come to pass. See, the book of Revelation is not written to the casual pew warmer, the innocent bystander, the casual Christian out there. It was written to servants. The word servants is doulos. This is, in Greek, it is a sold-out bondslave. Okay? That is why the book of Revelation is not known by most of the Christian world, nor will they ever know it. They are going to be playing patty cake with it for the rest of their lives. It doesn't matter how much truth is out there and available to them. They will never, ever get it. Why? As Yeshua said, to those who obey the truth, more truth will be given. But those who do not obey the truth they have, even the truth that they now have, will be taken away from them. The reason I'm speaking to them in parables is because I don't want them to understand. This may be hard for you to understand. You think of the sweet baby Jesus story. I don't want them to understand because they won't obey what they have already. I'm not going to give them more truth. They won't do it anyway. These people are dead weight. The Capernaum synagogue. He says, you got to eat my flesh and drink my blood. You'll have no part. And most of the people scattered. He turned to his disciples, why don't you guys take off too? He said, where are we going to go? You've got the words of truth. We have no idea what you just said to all of us, but you've got the words of truth. We're not going anywhere. I mean, he's constantly thinning the people out. The bystanders who don't want to do the truth, they'll have whatever they have taken away from them anyway. But here, these 7 thunders, this is something Yeshua doesn't want his servants to know. John starts to do what John was told to do because he's recording this for the servants of Yeshua. He starts to write it, and Yeshua cries out from heaven, don't tell them. But then he gives us the clue. But when the 7th angel sounds, you know that the mystery of God will be executed. When the 7th angel sounds its trumpet. So here we are. We have 7 thunders, and we don't know what they are. But this is what we can know about them. John was told, take this little book that's in the hand of the angel and eat it. He said it's going to be sweet in your mouth, but it's going to make you sick to your stomach. And then he is told, in the day when the 7th angel sounds his trumpet, the mystery of God will be executed. This means we are this close to home. We are this close to we are right here. When these 7 thunders are done, we have the 7th trumpet. These are things that when we look at the entire thing in the book of Revelation, we see that great tribulation has begun. You know, we've got millions of dead bodies littering the planet at this point. We have biological warfare. We've got genetically modified cornflakes. It's giving our children Alzheimer's. The diseases that they're coming out with, that they're naming every day, is like, it's unbelievable. And, in the book of the Revelation, it tells us why Babylon, the entire system, has to go down. Is because the great men of the earth are the merchants of Babylon who, through their pharmakia, are deceiving the nations. They pass this pharmakia off, this stuff that is made in the laboratory, they're passing it off as food, and it's not food. It is man-made pharmakia. Heidelberg is the pharmakia museum for Europe. Incredible place there. It shows the development from the leaves of the trees, which are given for the healing of the nation, and finally you go all through history to this big bottle of pills, all made in a laboratory, and it's all pharmakia. And there's no telling what the stuff is doing to us on the cellular level and what is now the genetic modification of stuff. Something very interesting that you'll see here in the land of Israel that I was just witnessing just a couple days ago. Reminded me as I was looking out over this wheat field over at the Horns of Hittim. It's all dwarf wheat. And my mother, a few years ago, as we were driving in Michigan, and I was up there visiting, she said, look, no more amber waves of grain. I said, what are you talking about, no more amber waves of grain? That's the song America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. She said, the wind is blowing, and look at the wheat. Nothing's moving. There are no waves of grain. And then I found out that a man won a Nobel Prize a few decades ago, because he genetically modified wheat to grow short and full of gluten and huge heads, no crop damage at all. And now it has gone all over the world. And that is when the obesity epidemic kicked in America and all over the world at the same time. And now the medical establishment and medical doctors are telling us what happened. See, wheat, the old wheat had 14 chromosomes. Now, the difference between a man and a woman, between Zipporah and I, is one chromosome. That's all the difference between a man and a woman. And that's an incredible difference. One chromosome, okay? And that one chromosome makes it so I have no idea what this other species is thinking. No idea, okay? That's one chromosome. The wheat that we once had throughout the world, the wheat of the Bible, was 14 chromosomes. Now it's 46 chromosomes. This isn't even wheat. This is destroying us on the cellular level. This is what has happened. And this is just one piece of pharmakia. This is one thing the book of Revelation talks about, that this is why this whole thing has got to go down, because we have been so defiled, so tampered with, that Yeshua is going to tear Babylon completely down, and we're going to start all over again. So, now, the seven thunders, why are we not to know? The picture is, it's going to be sweet to your mouth, the knowledge that we're almost there.
Thanks for listening to part one of Michael explaining the book of Revelation. I want to encourage you, don't miss part two, because we're only halfway through the journey. This is 1 hour and 40 minutes of pure nectar of understanding the book of Revelation. So if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever method you're using through the website, or for those on Facebook that have posted the links, go searching right now on bulldozerfaith.com for part two of the outline of the book of Revelation by Michael Rood. Lead Rod.